Hi, I'm Erik, the author of the book that we're kickstarting here on this page, Once Upon a Time, a Bit Earlier. Now maybe you've seen this campaign already. It's been up for a couple of weeks, and maybe you thought, you know, those illustrations are pretty nice, but I really don't need another book of fairy tales at my house. My kids already know the story of Snow White and how she met the 7 dwarves, or Cinderella and how she left her slipper on the stairs. Well, I have good news. I didn't want to write that kind of book either. That was the original offer. Logan, from the Brothers Huber, the one who's kickstarting this, came to me a few years back. He had found this artist, Meredith Moriarty, who drew fantastic illustrations. Maybe you've seen the full-color illustrations that he kickstarted earlier in another campaign that now are in the book Once Upon a Time. And he asked me if I was interested in doing a fairy tale book that she might be able to illustrate if she had time. Well, I loved the idea of working with Meredith and having her illustrate one of my stories. But I wasn't so keen on the idea of just doing another retelling of the fairy tale stories the way they always were. But I wanted to do the characters. I liked the idea of doing Snow White and Cinderella. So I got to thinking, what would be a new, original way to approach these characters? And I got to thinking about what my favorite parts of those stories were. Besides the characters, I was really into the magic. And one of my favorite things that fantasy stories can do is play around with time. And I got to wondering about the magic mirror. If the magic mirror can see other places, can the magic mirror see through time? Can he send himself messages back and forth through time? What if the magic mirror, upon discovering that his queen had been killed, could send a message to her back in time, that she should try again, only this time earlier, back when Snow White was still just a little girl, and her prince was still playing in some castle somewhere, not interested at all in kissing some princess? What if the whole story was set into motion earlier? And what if that story's changes changed another fairy tale, and then that changed another fairy tale, and it stumbled into the 3 Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf and all of these characters? What if all of the stories were changed? But then I had another idea. What if it wasn't just the stories that had changed? What if the book had changed? The same magic that changed the stories changed the book. I don't mean like a book in the story. I mean the actual book that you're holding in your hands is like changed by the magic. It looks like it should be a book of ordinary fairy tales, only the stories are different. It's kind of like in Back to the Future when Marty has that photograph that changes when his story changes, or those newspapers that change when history changes. What if you turn to the first story and it says Snow White, once upon a time there lived a little girl named Snow White, only when the huntsman comes to her, instead of tearfully saying, "Snow, the queen wants me to kill you and I can't bring myself to do it," what if he says, "The queen has sent me to protect you, and I will be noble and brave and do this"? And what if when you turn to the next story it's Rapunzel, only her hair has only grown long enough to go to the middle of her back? And what if when the sorceress comes through the window, it's not the witch like she expects, it's the queen from the Snow White story? And what if then you turn to the next story, and it should be Little Red Riding Hood, only for some reason it says Old Red Riding Hood? Why would that be if this story is supposed to be happening earlier? And each story stumbles into the next until each character meets the next character, and their stories all blend into one, where they try to answer this grand mystery of what's really going on in all of these fairy tales. And maybe even just that simple, basic question of why all these women want to kill all these little girls to begin with. That's the story that we're hoping to tell here. That's the book that we're hoping to make here. And we're hoping that with your help, we can make this book a reality. You can see that there's numerous ways to pledge that can earn you a copy of this book. There's ways you can get some of those other books that I was talking about that Meredith illustrated earlier. There's even a way that you can get my previous book with the Brothers Huber, a counting book about a playdate between a dragon and a princess that we also tried to make work as a storybook and as a picture book. Thank you so much for your help. We're very excited about this story, and we hope you and your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, your own children might find this story as delightful and exciting as we do. Thank you for your help for bringing this book into the world, and thank you for helping us kickstart Once Upon a Time a bit earlier.